Are relationships really that important when it comes to the sales process? Well, law number three from the Go Giver says that, and this is the law of influence. It says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. So your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first, which might sound a bit counterintuitive, I guess, uh maybe even Pollyanna-ish, right? Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. And then you think about it. And the greatest leaders, the top influencers, the most financially successful, sustainably top producing, money earning salespeople, this is simply how they run their lives and conduct their businesses. Or do they? Is what I just said one of those things that sounds good, but in the real world it doesn't really compute? Well, in his classic, written, gosh, now about 10 years or so ago, maybe a little bit more, Wharton Business School professor, Dr. Adam Grant, he had a book called Give and Take, and he cited a study of the most financially successful financial advisors in Australia. So these are people who help people create and manage wealth. They're basically selling their expertise, their financial services to people. And here's what the report said. The most successful, highest money earning financial advisors in Australia, they all had financial acumen, which of course is important. You've got to know what you're talking about. They were all willing to work very hard, also important, but that was not the differentiator. The differentiator was this: the most successful, highest money earning financial advisors were the ones who placed the interests of their client before themselves. They placed the interest of their client before their company. And they were the most financially successful. And we're talking on a sustainable basis. So, yeah, your influence. And what is influence? On a very basic level, influence is simply the ability to move a person or persons to a desired action, usually within the context of a specific goal. So if you want someone to be your customer or client, the very best thing you can do is put your own self-interest to the side and focus on them. Make it all about them. Now, let me qualify that statement for just a moment, because I think it can be easily misunderstood, and it's very, very important. When we say place the other person's interests first, we certainly don't mean you should be anyone's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial in any way. Absolutely not at all. It's simply as, if you happen to have read The Go-Giver, the protege, Joe, in the story was told by several of his mentors, and this is something I've been saying for, gosh, I guess 35 years now. I guess about 30, since my book Endless Referrals had been published, and this is where I first actually published this, that the golden rule of sales, the golden rule of business, is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. But here's the thing: the fastest, most powerful, most effective way to elicit those feelings toward you in others is by genuinely and authentically moving from that I focus or me focus to that other focus, that focus on them, that focus on, as Sam, one of the mentors in the Go-Giver, advised Joe, the protege, to make your win all about the other person's win. Why does that work? Why does that work? Well, there's a very simple reason. It has to do with human nature. And that's this. And I used to say this when I spoke at sales conferences all over. I mean, a room full of sales professionals, right? And first thing I'd say is, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. And we'd all laugh because we all knew that's true. No one's buying from me. No one's buying from them because any of us in the room had a quota to meet. I'd say no one's going to buy from you because um, uh, you'd like the sale to happen. Nobody's going to buy from you because you have a mortgage payment to meet. They don't care. They're going to buy from you because they believe that they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so. And when you think about it, that's the only reason why anyone should buy from you or from me or from anyone else. That's why John David Mann, my brilliant co-author, why he says that money is simply an echo of value, right? Money is an echo of value. It's the thunder, if you will, to values lightning. In other words, the focus must be on the value we provide that other person. The money we receive is simply a very natural and direct result of that value. So it's all about the relationship. And the reason why is because, and by the way, when I said earlier, all things being equal, right? And so, well, not everything is ever equal. No, but you know what? It's pretty close. These days, products work. Back in the day, I never thought there'd be a time when I'd say when I was a kid, but you know what? When I was a kid, not every TV worked the same. Radios didn't work the same. Nothing worked the same. There were some that were really good and some that were lousy and some that were expensive and some that were cheap. But these days, technology has really leveled the playing field. Most products are pretty good and they can be pretty much the same price. And you know what? If you make price your unique selling proposition, right? Your low price, unless your last name is Walmart, okay, or Amazon.com, you make low price your selling point, and it's just not it's not a profitable way to do business. It's not a fulfilling way to do business, and it's not an easy way to do business. It's a race to the bottom because if somebody buys from you because of your low price, they'll leave you for somebody else's lower price, right? When you sell on low price, you're a commodity. When you sell on high value, you're a resource, and you want to be that trusted resource, right? So when we say, well, all things being equal, we mean close enough to equal. And what that means is, if the prices are fairly close, the quality's fairly close, everything else is fair, everything else is pretty much equal. It's that person with the relationship. It's that person who has earned that know, like, and trust who's the one who's going to get the business. And here's the thing, you're going to get the business at a higher price. And the reason is because you're selling not on price, you're selling on value. See, you're selling on high value. You want to be that higher priced option because you're also the higher value option, right? And sustainably successful people who feel good about what they're doing and feel good about themselves and know that they're bringing something special to their customers and clients, that's what they do. And that's why the relationship is so very important. So, you think about it, the selling process is really based on four things. One is finding the right people. It's knowing who is your target market, who's the person who needs what you have or wants, needs and wants, or it could be just wants, depending upon what you're selling. But let's say needs, wants, and can afford what you do. I call it the marketing bridge. All right. So it's meeting them, but it's not just meeting them. It's being able to connect with them on a heart level. And when Jeff West, and he'll do this in the next program, when he talks about this brilliant concept called fusion points, it's going to just knock your socks off. So make sure you're with us for the next one. So that's the second part. You've got to be able to make that connection. Next, you've got to be able to guide them through the sales process. And again, this is where the relationship really comes into play because they need to trust you enough to know that, yes, you're going to discover what they need, want, and desire, but it goes deeper than that. Because you're also going to need to see the area. You're going to need to be able to communicate with them those areas you see where they are weak in places they don't even know so that you can help strengthen those areas. And unless you have a relationship with them, they may not be so willing to listen to that. The relationship's key. You also want to be able to see where they have certain strengths that they don't know they have. within their marketplace, right? Because you study this, you know this, and they're too close to it. But you've got to have that relationship so that they're going to listen to you, show them how they can actually leverage those strengths. See, this is how you become a person of deep value to them and can charge those higher prices. You also need to be able to work effectively within the objections process. No, you don't overcome objections. No, you cannot do that. But you can work effectively within the objection in order to get to the actual root of the objection and work together in partnership with your prospective client in order to advance the sale. But again, the relationship's so important. Then, even after you have that person as a client, you want to be so connected with them on a heart level, right? You want to be not only continually top of mind, but as our great friend Grant Muller puts it, top of heart. And they've got to be able to remember you not only when they need something additional, but when they come across someone who needs your products or services. Kim Angeli, you'll hear about in the third one of the series that we do. She has this great saying, and I absolutely love this saying. She says, it's not your client's job to remember you. It's your job to be unforgettable. And she'll share with you how to do this. But if you notice, every single part of this is about the relationship. So I'm going to bring Jeff on in a moment to talk a little bit about the event. We have the SALESWISE Live coming up in early June, and this is going to be really spectacular. But I want to talk to you first a moment about the importance of investing in yourself if it's something you choose to do. Back in the late 90s, I had an issue I was trying to get past. It was in a sales type of context. So I paid at that time, I think it was $7,000, and that was back in the 90s. So I guess now it would be, with inflation, I don't know what it would be, but we'll just keep it the $7,000 figure. I paid for 4 hours of time with a guy by the name of Dan Kennedy. If you recognize the name, Dan was a genius. And he was just fantastic when it came to direct response, when it came to sale. Just wonderful. So I paid $7,000. I flew out to, I think it was either Cleveland or Akron. I think he was living in Akron at the time, and met with him for 4 hours. So Dan addressed, and it was about one question. This was only about one question I had. And Dan gave me some wonderful, wonderful advice. The challenge was, it was not congruent with my style. Okay. So his advice, it was not illegal or immoral, unethical, or anything. No, because that's not Dan. Dan is beyond reproach. It just wasn't my style. So I couldn't have addressed it that exact way because I wouldn't have felt comfortable. It wouldn't have been authentic, and it wouldn't have come across authentic, right? It wasn't me. However, the principles that he taught me were absolutely right on. So what I did when I got back home is I created something around that, utilizing those principles, but with my own style. And this brought in revenue of millions and millions of dollars over the years. Now, here's the thing. I invested whatever it was, $7,000 in a plane ticket and a hotel room, right? And a couple days, one day with him, but to get out there, get back, and so forth. So a couple days of my life. Did I want to? No, I'd rather have the $7,000 in my pocket. Did I want to take 2 days away from home? No, my cat is always angry when I travel from, away from home. But you know what? My return on investment was nothing less than amazing, right? Because I had a good teacher who taught principles, values-based principles that I could then take and apply to my own needs. So, is it worth the investment? That's only something, that you can decide. But I'm going to suggest that this event we have coming up, SALESWISE Live, is going to absolutely, if I'll tell you what it's going to do, and then I want to turn this over to Jeff. The benefits are this: you are going to be able to connect with more high qualified prospects. You're going to increase your ability to set appointments. And again, fusion points, which Jeff is going to talk about next. You're going to increase your closing percentage. So how great would it be if not only could you meet more people than you usually would, because prospects say no a lot. I don't mean the presentation, the sales conversation. I mean before you ever get in. But what if you can increase the number of appointments you can actually set, and then increase your closing percentage of those you do set? And then you're going to stay top of heart. And what's going to happen as a result is you're going to earn a lot more referrals, both through the relationship and knowing how to ask for referrals correctly. So when you ask from now on, and I'm going to share with you a very specific way, you'll never again hear someone say, well, I can't think of anybody right now, but when I do, I'll let you know. So I think there's a lot here that's going to make it well worth your investment. And by the way, it's a lot less than what I invested in Dan Kennedy's program, whether it's today's dollars or 1990s dollars. So Jeff, I'm going to ask you to come on, if you wouldn't mind, and share just a little bit more.
All right. Thanks for that. I'm so excited about this event. I remember you were talking about just then, Bob, about your investment and investing in your career like that. There was an investment that someone made in me in January of 2000 that changed my future. At that time, I had been in the industry, the insurance industry, for I guess 10 years, 7 years, I guess at that point. And I was a district manager, and I would make my numbers one year, miss them the next. I was certainly not in danger of getting fired, but I wasn't a superstar either. And a sales mentor of mine, one of my state managers, actually gave me 2 books that January that totally changed the future for me and my family. One was Dr. John C. Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and
Great
the
book.
other was Endless Referrals by my partner over there, Bob Berg. And those 2 books, and I make no apologies about saying this, totally changed my career. I went from being a struggling district manager to 2 years later, a regional manager, 2 years after that, a state manager. That was a 4-year jump in an industry that's not the norm. And the reason that it happened was it wasn't so much that the specific books related to the insurance industry, although every single morsel in them did. It was more about the idea that I took the lessons, I devoured what Bob said in Endless Referrals, I tweaked it for my industry, and I went on to build a hugely successful career. I made millions of dollars in income over the next, much longer did I work? 14 years after that I worked, it was a very large return on investment. And that was with me having to dig it out myself from the content. One of the things that I think you'll all love about the SalesWise live event that's coming up is it's not going to be your normal, okay, yay, there's some really great speakers that we admire on stage, and we're going to take notes and get out there and do our thing. Bob and Kim and I are going to be giving you some of the best content that we absolutely have. We're investing ourselves in you. But we're also coming off the stage. We're going to get down in the audience. There's going to be breakout sessions. Our goal, quite frankly, is that when you leave that event, not only do you have some great sales training, both with what Bob and Kim and I, or all 3 of us do, you're going to come away understanding how. You're going to come away understanding, okay, why does that work? Because part of what I do will be teaching you what happens in the neurology of the brain with a prospect, with a client, with a team member that you're trying to retain and keep them in your industry. I'll be teaching that. And Kim's going to be teaching you some of the most amazing things about how to build a culture for your clients and your organization that it will just blow you away. And I don't know what your income will be per sale that you make, but I will tell you this: in the insurance industry that I was in, it was employee benefit related. If I made 1 extra sale because of an event like this, it was going to cover the fee. If I made 2 extras, it was going to cover the fee plus all the money I wanted to spend while I was there, in which I like to go out and do that. So, but the point is, there's zero doubt in my mind that if you come and you absorb the knowledge and you master it, and then the caveat, if you go out and apply it, the return on investment that your guys are going to get from this is going to be incredible. And it's in one of the most beautiful locations in the world. You can't help but love the idea of having a meeting that you can basically go right outside. After that, you'll be on the top level of a hotel with a pool bar, and you can see the intercoastal waterway and yachts. And in the distance, you can see the Atlantic Ocean. And you come away with that with the most positive emotional connection that you'll ever have to a career in sales and what you'll be doing. And we're going to tie that with the logic of what we're coaching you to do during the time. And it's going to create what I call a fusion point, and it's something you'll retain because of how we're doing it. So we're excited. And what I want to do is I'm going to kind of hand the microphone off to Kim. For those of you that don't know Kim Angeli already, you need to know her. This lady is amazing. So Kim, I'll go ahead and bring you up.
Thank you. And I had the pleasure of going to the Ben Hotel a couple of weeks ago, and it's gorgeous. If you love luxury, boutique hotels, this is not your average conference experience. You're going to be able to mix and mingle with Bob and Jeff and myself and all the exceptional people that will come visit and learn and be there with us. I know I've been to some conferences and trainings in my world, and I couldn't get to the speakers. I couldn't get to the trainers. They come on stage and then they go behind the curtain. And this is really going to be where we can show you the recipes and roadmaps that I've used in my business. I'm going to show you the recipe and the blueprint of how I did $65 million a year in 8 states for Cisco Systems. I took that same methodology, applied it into my insurance agency. And when I remembered, I was like, oh, I have this roadmap from Cisco, one of the top sales companies in the world. I should apply this into insurance. And so now I share this with clients. And I'll tell you today, I was on a coaching call with a client because I still do private client coaching and I love it. And he said, a year ago, I was a transactional mindset. And today I really care about my customer before myself and my employees, and this is fun. So we want you to have fun in your business. And some of the best relationships I've ever met that are still true relationships for me today, I have met at events like this. One of them is Greg. He's in Australia, and I met him at an event like this years ago, and we are still friends decade later. And so I believe that getting in person with people is a different energy. I think we learn better with examples. And just like Jeff said, we're going to be there with you. All of that matters because you're doing it. You could read how to ride a bike, right? If you agree, you can raise your hand. We agree you could read on how to ride a bike. But doing it and getting on the bike is how you master riding a bike. And that's what we want to give you these mastery skills, and you can walk away and apply them in your business immediately and hit the ground running and have the best rest of your year from the tools we're going to share with you. So I'll give it back to Bob, and we appreciate you coming and listening to us. And we're going to, we have saleswiselife.com, and we do have a promotion I'll mention for any VIP seat between any guest that comes as a VIP. You get 2 nights included by May 10th. So definitely we want to make sure that you feel welcome and you're at the Ben Hotel with everyone else. And there's all kinds of spaces to do meet and greets. And we're going to have amazing lunches, and the space itself is beautiful. And we have that promotion going on right now. And if you have any questions, my phone number, my personal mobile number is on the landing page, and I do answer my phone if you have any questions. And you can give us a call or email us or reach out, and we will be more than happy to answer any questions you have now. And we can put them in the comments, but we definitely are excited to invest our time with you in West Palm in the 1st of June, June 2nd through 4th. Ooh, you're muted, Bob.
Bob, I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry. It's at the bottom left. There you go. Perfect.
I'm only kidding. Now I'm not muted. Hey, so a couple quick thoughts before I end with the story. First, yes, it is so it's the evening of the 2nd from 5 to 7. We have a really cool party going on and at the Ben. And we're going to have a live Dixieland band that Jeff picked out, and this is really exciting. Then the 3rd and the 4th is going to be all day. It's going to be intense, but it's also going to be a lot of fun. And again, it's going to be all of us learning together. And I believe the experience is going to be terrific. What I'm going to suggest is get a group and come together. There's also, as you'll see, there are packages for groups. And if you are a sales manager / sales leader, bring your team, because this will be a wonderful getaway to take them to beautiful West Palm Beach, right next to the downtown West Palm Beach nightlife area, right on the intercoastal, where they get to look at all the yachts and see Palm Beach Island and the Atlantic Ocean right across the way. Again, talk about creating fusion points and building that relationship with your team. So be sure to get there for this one, because this is going to be a very special 2 days. Jeff, before I end with a quick thought, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just to piggyback on the comment you made there, when I was a state sales manager for a Fortune 500 insurance company, one of the things I did every year is I took 20% of my bonus and I took my direct reports, the regional sales coordinators who worked directly with me. I took them and their spouses on a trip every year. And the reason I did it was to create the kind of loyal bond that you can't get any other way. And if we had a great year, it would be places like we stayed at the Bitter End Yacht Club on Virgin Gorda for a week. If it was just an okay year, we went to Lake Tahoe for a few days. But the point is, that emotional connection that we made there was huge in the success of my team. And what I'll be teaching in the next segment of these that we do about fusion points, your goal as a leader of a sales team is to create an environment where you're combining positive emotional responses with the logic of what you're trying to get done at the time. This is the absolute perfect trip for that. It's that kind of experience. So I hope you guys will definitely check it out. And we're doing volume discounts if you're bringing more than one person. So there's some ways we can help everybody out on that.
One of the best pieces I ever received was from someone I call a drive-by mentor. One of my mentors, Dondi Scumaci, I think she coined the term. And a drive-by mentor is simply someone who you may not know well, may not have a relationship with, may know them indirectly, may not, whatever. But they happen to give you a piece of advice at the exact advice you needed at the time, at the exact time you were ready to receive it. Mine was from an older gentleman at a company where I worked as a salesperson. I was in a deep sales slump and I made a rookie sales mistake. The more of a slump I was in, the more I focused on myself and getting out of the slump and making the sale, rather than focusing on my customers and clients and those I was serving. Right. And this is 40 or so, 38 years ago. And I think he saw me as having that kind of potential that John David Mann and I would write about 25 years after that, whatever, when we wrote The Go-Giver, talk about Joe, right? The protagonist in the story was that nice kid, good kid, up and coming, ambitious, aggressive. But his focus was on the wrong place. His focus was on himself, not on the people he was supposed to be serving. But he had hope, and Pindar took a chance with him. And fortunately, this older guy, I think, saw that in me. And he said, Berg, he was a last name kind of guy. He said, Berg, can I give you some advice? And I said, yes, please do. I totally need it. And he said, Berg, if you want to make a lot of money in sales, he said, don't have making money as your target. Your target is serving others. Now, when you hit the target, he said, you'll get a reward. And that reward will come in the form of money. And you can do with that money whatever you choose. But never forget, he said, the money is simply the reward for hitting the target. It's not the target itself. Your target is serving others. And what that said to me was this: great salesmanship is never about the salesperson. Great salesmanship is never about the product or the service, as important as those are. That's never what the sale is actually about. Great salesmanship is about that other person, that person whose life you're trying to add value to, or even more accurately, it's about that person whose life becomes better just because you are part of it. And I think that when we approach sales from that foundational premise, that relationship focus, that other focus, really now we're 9 steps ahead of the game in a 10-step game. And I invite you to go to the webpage, saleswiselive.com, fill in the information, come join us, bring your team with you or bring some others with you. Have a great time and really increase your sales and make your business a lot more fun, a lot less stressful, and a whole lot more profitable. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us.